Brandon stared blankly at the elegant wedding invitation in his hand. His fingers traced the gold-embossed letters. But the reality of it still felt surreal. His ex-girlfriend Emily was getting married. And not just to anyone. She was throwing the grandest event of the year in a historic venue in Florence. A year ago, she had walked out of his life, tired of waiting for him to prioritize their relationship over his relentless career. Now she was marrying a man who, by all accounts, had done just that. Brandon threw the invitation onto the polished glass table in his penthouse apartment. The view of the city skyline through his floor-to-ceiling windows offered no solace, only a reflection of his growing unease. Attending the wedding alone, to witness Emily's happiness with another man, was an unbearable thought. Yet, the idea of declining and taking the easy way out didn't sit right with him either. He decided he would go, but not alone. The next afternoon, while wandering aimlessly through the city streets, Brandon spotted her. A woman sat on the steps of a cafe, her head bent low. She wore a faded jacket that had clearly seen better days, and her shoes were so worn they barely held together. Yet, despite her circumstances, there was a quiet dignity about her. Something about her presence stopped Brandon in his tracks. "Hi," he said awkwardly, standing a few feet away. The woman looked up, her dark eyes meeting his. "Hello," she replied softly. "I'm Brandon." He introduced himself. Her gaze lingered on him for a moment, cautious but steady. "Nia," she finally replied with a faint smile. Brandon hesitated. He wasn't entirely sure why he had stopped to talk to her. Maybe it was the upcoming wedding, the gnawing loneliness, or the unshakable sense that he needed to do something different for once. "Look, this might sound crazy," he began, rubbing the back of his neck, "but would you come to a wedding with me?" Nia blinked, clearly taken aback. "A wedding? Yeah, I know it's out of the blue, but I'd make sure you have something to wear. And well, I just don't want to go alone. What do you say?" For a moment, Nia studied his face, searching for signs of a joke. When she found none, a soft laugh escaped her lips. "I'm not sure if this is the strangest thing that's ever happened to me or the kindest. It might be both," Brandon admitted with a small smile. To his surprise, Nia nodded. "All right, why not?" The next day, Brandon took Nia to an upscale boutique. The pristine store and its staff's polished demeanor made Nia's worn clothes stand out like a sore thumb. Brandon caught the disdainful glances from the sales associates but didn't care. Nia, however, seemed unfazed, walking into the store with quiet confidence. "I want you to pick something you love," Brandon told her as a saleswoman reluctantly brought out a selection of dresses. Hours later, Nia emerged from the fitting room in an emerald gown that hugged her figure elegantly. Her hair had been styled in soft waves, and a light touch of makeup highlighted her natural beauty. She stood before the mirror, almost unrecognizable to herself. "Is this really me?" she whispered. Brandon's voice was steady. "It's you, exactly as you are." For the first time in years, Nia allowed herself to see what others might see, a resilient, beautiful woman who hadn't been defined by her hardships. On the day of the wedding, Brandon and Nia arrived at the Grand Villa. The sprawling estate was a showcase of opulence, with manicured gardens and a majestic ballroom. As they entered, conversations paused, and all eyes turned toward them. Nia walked with her head high, exuding confidence that belied her circumstances. From across the room, Emily's eyes landed on them. Her polished smile faltered for a split second before she composed herself. "Brandon," she greeted coolly when they approached. "And this is Nia." Brandon introduced her with pride. "My date." Emily's smile tightened. "A pleasure to meet you. Nia, you look lovely." "Thank you," Nia replied warmly. "It's a beautiful wedding." The tension between them was palpable, but Nia didn't flinch. Throughout the evening, whispers trailed their every step, but Nia's composure never wavered. By the end of the night, Brandon found himself captivated not by the event, but by Nia. Her resilience, her kindness, and her unshakable grace left him in awe. In a quiet moment near the garden, Emily found Brandon. "Can we talk?" she asked, her tone guarded. "Sure," Brandon replied, following her. Emily's gaze shifted uneasily. I didn't expect you to bring someone like her. Brandon's jaw tightened. What's that supposed to mean? You know how people in this world can be. Emily said carefully. I just don't want you to get hurt. This isn't about me. Brandon replied, his voice firm. This is about your embarrassment. Nia doesn't need your approval. Before Emily could respond, Nia appeared. Her voice was calm but resolute. Excuse me. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I couldn't help overhearing. Emily stiffened. Nia continued, her tone unwavering. I know I'm not what you expected, but Brandon invited me because he sees me for who I am, and I'm more than my circumstances. Emily had no response. She quickly excused herself, leaving Brandon and Nia alone. You didn't have to do that, Brandon said softly. Nia smiled, a genuine warmth in her eyes. I did, not just for you, but for me. That night, as they danced under the golden lights of the ballroom, Brandon realized something profound. This wasn't about Emily anymore. It wasn't about appearances or the wedding. It was about Nia. She had walked into his life unexpectedly, but now he couldn't imagine it without her. Nia, he said as the music slowed, I don't want tonight to be the end. Nia looked at him, her eyes searching his. What do you mean? I mean I want to see where this goes, he said earnestly. With you. A small smile spread across her face. I'd like that. As they left the wedding together, walking hand in hand under the Parisian moonlight, they both knew that this was just the beginning of something extraordinary. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them side by side.